about, isn't it?
It is. Well, at least you know I appreciate what you've done.
Okay.
And Frank does too.
Okay.
Thanks, Arthur. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Fantastic interview with Arthur Lenig. Thank you so much, Arthur. And it's time to call Frank. And that'll be our show for tonight. Things go quick here. I need 5 hours. I need 5 hours.
Joe.
Arthur Lenig was a great interview.
All right, yeah, he's quite entertaining.
And he says hello to you.
Okay, and well, if he's still listening, I say hello back to him.
I'm in my full Dracula cape tonight.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's that time of year, Frank.
Okay, I couldn't get you guys online tonight, so I was afraid something was wrong, but I'm sure you're dazzling in your Dracula cape.
We're not online. That's terrible.
Well, at least not in my lousy neck of the woods, but don't worry about that. I'm sure the rest of the world is enjoying it.
Sometimes when there's too many viewers, it crashes.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad thing then.
It isn't. We're building a following.
That's true.
And we're in our Bela Lugosi festival tonight.
Okay, and you're showing 1941's The Invisible Ghost. Is that right?
That is right.
Okay, well, there's Dello Lugosi's second film with Monogram, but it's his first film and his second go with them. In the next 3 years after that, from 1941 through 1944, he would make 9 Monogram films. And to be honest, they're not his best films. They're kind of jury affairs, but The Invisible Ghost can be very interesting. The director was Joseph H. Lewis, who got a lot of credit for making a lot out of very little. He always worked in low-budget films until he moved on to television late in his career. But his films, though he didn't have the budget, often didn't have the talent, didn't have the time, always have a distinctive touch to him. And you'll be watching this movie, and it settles into a typical low-budget thriller. A little slow in pace and all that. And every now and then, there'll be a camera angle or a composition that really gets your attention, and it seems so out of line with the rest of the film. And that's what he was famous for. If he without many resources at his disposal, he could always pull something off good in a film. And he does that 2 or 3 times in his film. There are some scenes, some moments that just stick out. And you think you're watching a pretty bad film, and then all of a sudden it comes to life, and you go, wow. The guy knew how to use his camera, and he knew when to have close-ups and pull it back, etc. So it's worth it for if there's any young filmmakers out there. This is how you do it without a lot of budget at your disposal, and it's worth it to see what how a person, even under the weight of some mediocre things at hand, he pulls off a personal touch here and there. Bela Lugosi, of course, is a star, but there's some other interesting people in the cast. The leading lady is Polly Ann Young, who was the younger sister of Loretta Young.
I did not know that.
Yeah, well, there were 3 young sisters, 2 of them young, Loretta Young and Polly Ann Young, and then there's Sally Blaine. And Polly Ann, I don't think ever had much of a career. Many of your younger viewers won't remember Loretta Young, but she was a big star in the 30s and 40s and in 1950s television. I guess she's remembered best today as having Clark Gable's illegitimate daughter, but she was quite a star in her time, and she won an Academy Award. The butler is played by a black actor, Clarence Muse, who tends to have kind of throwaway roles in movies like this, but he was also a black filmmaker. And he became a doctor. He was a doctor of law, so he was referred to as Dr. Muse. And he and Bela Lugosi were kind of buddies. They made a few movies together. He was in White Zombie, so this is your second Bela Lugosi Clarence Muse movie in about a month. And way down in the cast is a woman who people in L.A. might remember, Ottila Nesbeth, who never had much of a film career. But she was the after Elvira and before Elvira and after Vampira, Los Angeles watched their horror movies to Ottila Nesbeth as the crazy old lady Ottila, who used to introduce horror movies every night.
Now, isn't that fascinating? That's a great nugget.
Yeah, And a sad thing in the cast is Betty Compson, who plays Bela Lugosi's deranged wife. She was a big silent star. She probably earned more in a month in the Days of the Silence than the budget of this movie was at all. And she lost that, and she had a painful divorce, and then the IRS came after her, so she was pretty much wiped out of her wealth. And if you see this movie, and again, keep your eye on her, she's Mrs. Bela Lugosi in this movie. It's kind of sad. You say, God, this was one of the top stars of the silent era. In her day, she was earning what, $5,000 a week, and then she was reduced to this, and she probably got a couple of hundred for this job, if anything.
Mrs. Kessler.
Mrs. Kessler, yes. And there's no shortage of silent movie stars who earned good wages back in the 20s, who by the 40s were just hanging on by their fingertips, picking up what work they could get. Bela Lugosi at this point is a busy man. He's not turning down any roles, so he's making 1941. I don't have his filmography in front of me, but he appeared in the second Black Cat movie. He was in a 1934 movie and a 1941. He appeared with the East Side Kids and another monogram film. He appears in The Wolfman. He did a lot of work in the 40s. I know for the opening of this film, it had a premiere in Chicago, and Lugosi's wife was from Chicago, so he never needed much excuse to go there to see the in-laws. And he went there and hosted a magic show on stage and then the movie would play in its premiere run.
Wow!
So he was busy at this time, but he just did not turn down roles, and he spent money as fast as he got it. So he had to keep working, and this is one of the things he did to keep busy.
We've got about a minute left, and next week will be The Terror with Boris Karloff.
The Terror with Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson.
Because we got Sara Karloff on, and Frank, it's always a pleasure to have you, man. Great stuff tonight on. Now, there's no relation to the Invisible Ghost, right? The Invisible Ray. No, they just got the Invisible. In fact, the only ghost in this movie is quite visible. Ah.
It was just a catchy title, or somebody thought it was a catchy title. It could have had any number of names. Basically, Bela Lugosi's character coming to grips with his demented, lost wife. Nothing invisible about it.
Well, thank you, Frank Dello Stritto.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. October 13th, that's our visual radio. Thank you, Jeff Dearman. Thanks to WinCam, Joe LaRocco for audio, and Kevin Russo couldn't make it tonight. We'll try to do Dracula next week with Kevin. Thank you, everyone.